And what all things that we are going to cover in today's session are the history of mangroves of Mumbai, then things we should know about the mangroves, why mangroves survive in along land borders, what are the different mangrove species that are found in Mumbai, importance of mangroves, what are the threats to mangroves, what is the role of forest department in mangrove conservation, and what is role of common people in mangrove conservation. These are some of the 8 areas that I'll be concentrating today in our session. So before we start, where are they located? So I think we all know, like because of this cyclone Tote, or last year we faced cyclone Nisarga. So all the coastal areas and all, like the people who were residing over there, we had shifted those people to the safe places. And now also recently we faced one of the cyclone. And because of all this kind of events like cyclones, tsunamis, floods, which we face every year, because of the improper drainage system, and all these things highlights the importance of the mangroves, why they are important. And if we see along the India, then we have major mangrove patch in near the Gujarat coastline, then throughout the coastline of Maharashtra, Goa, Kerala, then Kaveri Delta, Krishna, Godavari, Mahanadi, and Sundarban mangroves, and Andaman and Nicobar Island mangroves. So all this, among all these things, Sundarban mangroves and Andaman and Nicobar mangroves, they get a very, very prime importance because of their species diversity and because of the widespread nature of the mangroves in those areas. We get to see very prominent and luxuriant growth of mangroves in such areas, especially the after Sundarbans, it is Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So why I spoke about this Andaman and Nicobar Island is because Andaman and Nicobar is also an island ecosystem. And if not mistaken, Mumbai is also a city which is formed of the islands. So old, like when I was thinking, like, when we are talking about the mangroves of Mumbai, so it just clicked like what was Mumbai before? So there are so many research articles or the publications which mentions that some mentions that Mumbai was 4 island city, some mention it was 5 island city. So that is being disputed about how many islands were present earlier. But then there are certain papers which also suggest that it is a 7 island city. And later on, like Mumbai had seen this reclamation from centuries together. So here you can see some maps. These are the 7 islands to Mumbai city. So this is the previous map, and you can see how like the formation of Mumbai has taken place. And this formation, it has taken place over 150 years. So initially all this thing started in the 17th century. So there were so many people like who had been the part of Mumbai. First it was Hindu, then there were Mohammedans, then Portuguese, and the Britishers. And the main part about the geography of the Mumbai area was, so all these islands that we can see, like when they are under, like when the high tide is there, at that time people cannot travel anywhere. But during low tide, it has been said, or I've read it in few references, that people were able to cross from one island to other island by foot. So that itself makes the Mumbai habitat as a very unique and very different. And wherever there are islands or wherever there is a land parcel, that land parcel, especially in this tropic and subtropical area, it is bordered by the line of mangroves. Even today, whenever you see, like through the satellite image, wherever there are these borders are occupied by the mangrove vegetation. So all this major reclamation, it happened in the 17th century because of some um, disputes between the Portuguese and the Britishers, where the Bombay Island was considered separate, Mahim Island was considered separate, where Britishers were claiming that both the islands are same. And later on, Britishers won that thing, and later on they did the reclamation, and so how we get this whole lot of the entire Mumbai patch. So Mumbai definitely had a very luxuriant mangrove history. And it is also claimed that there are so many different mangrove species. Like throughout India, there are 80 odd numbers of mangrove species that are present worldwide. And in India, there is a record of some 46 mangrove species. Maharashtra is 22 mangrove species. And today in Mumbai, we have around 12 to 13 plus mangrove species. But it has been said that previously in the 19th century or so, Mumbai was rich and it had like more than 20 species that were present in Mumbai. But probably because of the reclamation and all these things, we have lost some of the diversity that was present in the Mumbai areas. So today, the major areas where we can see the mangroves in and around Mumbai are the Vasai Creek, Thane Creek. I'm sure all must have visited the Thane Creek because of the Thane Creek Flamingo Sanctuary. Then Manori and Malad Creek, Mahim, Bandra, Versova, Shivri, Mumra, Diva, and few more places. So wherever you are residing, I'm sure like you might have seen this mangroves. And most of the time when we see mangroves, it all looks green. It all looks similar. So it becomes very difficult for a common man to understand that there are so many different species that are present in the mangroves. So before we understand what are the different species that are present in the mangroves, I would like to also tell you, like, it has only been a decade or so that has made so much difference in the conservation journey of the mangroves. See, when I started my research in 2009, at that time also not many people knew about mangroves. Whenever you say mangroves, people relate that term with a more familiar term like mangoes. Everybody knows mangoes. So, but mangroves was not known by many. They were always considered as unwanted plants. They were reclaimed and they were used as dumping grounds. They are still used as a dumping ground, and they were used as a source of timber and charcoal. Then there are many different type of mangroves that we will see in the presentation ahead. This all these mangroves are found in many different places. It is not only in Mumbai, but Mumbai, then we go throughout the coastline of Maharashtra, we get variation in the vegetation of the mangroves. Not only in the vegetation, but also the morphology of this mangrove species. You can see some kind of changes in it. Rich the substratum, like rich is the sediment, rich is the mangrove growth in that area. Definitely today, because of the reclamation, because of the environmental pressure, because of the urbanization, industrialization, mangroves are in big danger. And these mangrove forests, they are excellent carbon stores. If you have seen any exclusive or if you have read any article in the newspaper and all, you might have read this somewhere that they store a good amount of carbon. We'll highlight this thing later in our presentation. So people are also protected by mangrove forest. So whenever this kind of conditions arises, like cyclones, tsunami, floods, like it is the mangroves, they have played a very important role in protecting our coastline, protecting our land from erosion. Then the roots of mangroves are home to several species. Mangroves are very different type of trees. They are not like normal trees. If somebody who is very, very new to mangroves and you don't know about mangroves, then mangroves are something they grow in a waterlogged condition. So there is no oxygen in the soil. And because of that, they have evolved and adapted themselves in such a way that their roots grow above ground. And they have developed very interesting kind of root systems in the various species. So these mangroves, they provide nutrients to neighboring habitats such as coral reef, seagrass ecosystem, rocky shores, sandy shores. So all these ecosystems, they are interlinked and connected to each other. The photo which you can see in this slide, this is of Rhizophora mucronata. This was not clicked in Mumbai, but this was clicked in Sundarbans area. Sorry, this was clicked in Sindhudurg area. And you can see the extensive roots that have grown above the ground. These are called as stilt roots. And this is a well-developed, mature Rhizophora mucronata species from the Maharashtra coastline. Then something about like why mangroves are called as coastal warriors. Now, if we see this habitat, when we say coastline, most of the coastal habitats, they are saline because of the influence of the sea water. And since they are situated at the borders, they are connected to many riverine connections to the drainage systems and so on. Thus, they get the fresh water from the landward side, and the saline water get mixes from the seaward side because of the tidal influence that
हाँ
occurs daily. So mangroves are called as coastal warriors because first thing, they grow in the saline environment, and not any tree can grow in the saline habitat. There are only very few species which are characterized under the term mangroves which can grow in this habitats. And how they can grow in this habitat? Because they are adapted, they have evolved to survive, they have escaped the competition from the land, and that is how they are able to survive in these areas. Again, if you go and see how they are growing, then the substratum is highly unstable. Every day when the tidal water comes in, so at that time the silt and other particles also comes in, and during that process the sedimentation takes place. So for formation of 1 centimeter of the sediment might take some years together. So these mangroves, they have developed several adaptations for the survival. Two of them we discussed just now. Third one is germination and establishment. See, we all know how we do tree plantation. Either we plant the seed into the soil, then it grows into a sapling, and then we plant it into the forest. And it is not the same for the mangroves. Some species, they develop seeds, some species, they develop the saplings on the parent plant itself. And these saplings, they are called as propagules. I'll show you how the propagules look in the next slide. Then the seed dispersal, this is another challenging part, like how they can reproduce throughout the coastline and how they can sustain in these areas. So seed dispersal usually occurs with the tides. So tides play a very, very important role in the dispersal of the mangroves. And if we talk about Mumbai, in Mumbai we have 13 to 15 species of mangroves, out of which some 9-10 species are commonly seen everywhere. So now let us see what are the different mangrove species. So I've tried to put the photos of the different mangrove species. Now these photos are of the mangrove species Avicennia marina. I have not added a photo of full tree because I'm sure everywhere you go in and around Mumbai, you will be able to locate this species. How you will be able to find out whether this is Avicennia marina? You look at the base. When you look at the base, you will see this pencil-like pointed structures. These are the roots that have grown upright in upright direction so that they can breathe in some oxygen or breathe in some air for the plant to survive. And these roots also help the plant to stay in that substratum. Then these are the flowers. They develop very tiny flowers which are yellow in color. This is a time when you get to see this plant in flowering. These flowers are scented. They have a very nice mild fragrance. So if you get a chance to experience the fragrance of this flowers, you should definitely go. Then you can see here the seeds. Now these seeds which you can see over here, they look like tiny mangoes. But these are not mangoes. These are the fruits or the seeds of Avicennia marina. Avicennia marina is locally called as tivar. It is also called as grey mangrove, but just don't go for that grey mangrove. So it will always be in grey in color. It is not the bark or something that you have to observe. I feel like, it is called as grey mangrove. If you see this tree in the sunlight, okay, and when the wind direction is blowing, the under part of the leaf, it is silvery beneath, and whenever the wind is blowing, now you can see the entire patches has turned gray. Probably that might be the reason, it is known as the gray mangrove. But otherwise, you won't be able to see the bark or anything that is gray in color. But common English name, it is called as gray mangrove. Avicennia marina is the scientific name. I am telling you the scientific names also because that is the global identity of the species. You say it thrice, twice, and it becomes familiar to you. These are the species which colonizes. You can see them in colonies. So you go to Charai, Charkop area, you go to Airoli, you go to Bhandup area. So most of these areas you will see this Avicennia marina tree in huge numbers. Usually it is a dominant species that is found in and around Mumbai. It can tolerate high amount of pollution. It can tolerate high amount of salt. It has medicinal properties as well. And we have not exploited much of the medicinal properties of the mangroves. But I remember in Raigad, when I was on one of the mangrove expedition, one of the villager mentioned this, that they feed this leaves of Avicennia marina to cattle, and that helps in the milk production, that increases the milk production in the cattle. So that is one of the medicinal importance of it. Then seed dispersal is very very easy. The tree, it produces so many seeds, like it will produce around thousands and lakhs of seeds. And like a fisherman go for fishing in these days, like when in the month of June, I think, not now, the fruit formation has just taken place, but in the month of June entire net will be full of these seeds. So the dispersal is very easy. So wherever there is good tidal flow, the seeds will disperse on by themselves. They're high in tannins. So I've read it somewhere, like I have not visited any time to Hong Kong mangrove park or something, but they make tea out of these leaves. Tea is nothing but the tannin decoction, right? So even these leaves are used as a tea. And in this last photo, you can see the leaves, you can see the tiny crystals of the salt on it, like white crystals. So what happens, like trees taking saline water. Now definitely plants, they don't like saline water, but they have some mechanism to cope up with this salt, and that is why they are able to survive here. So all these leaves, you will see this type of salt crust or salt deposition that is formed. And if by any chance, if you're not in a polluted area, somewhere like unpolluted area like Ratnagiri or Sindhudurg or so, you can also like take a chance to taste the salt crystals. Immediately you will feel so rejuvenated and so refreshed, like you had an energy drink or so. It is a pure form of salt that has crystallized, like it has come through that entire system of plant, and then it has precipitated on the leaf. So when this leaf mature, or it um, becomes yellow, the leaf will fall down, and that excess salt, plant will get rid of it automatically. So this is something. And there are two different species of Avicennia. One is Avicennia marina, another is the species which is having roundish leaves. That is also the Avicennia species. It has a different name. It is called as Avicennia officinalis. Flowers, fruits, roots are similar, only the leaves will have the rounded shape. So then we get to see this Sugandha. Sugandha, the river mangrove, Aegiceras corniculatum, is the scientific name of this mangrove. Now this Sugandha, it has very, very scented flowers. So very high quality scent can be, we can get probably from these flowers. And the local communities somewhere in Malvan and all, I had also seen that they make the flower garlands like gajra and all, that we use in our Hindu custom, like wear it in like a garland or offer it to the god. They make the garlands also of these flowers, but it is not exploited on a large scale, on a commercial this thing, only at a very local level. Now this mangrove, this is not found exactly near the creeks or the rivers. It is found in the back area, like more towards the landward side we will get to see this. Usually this is a small tree. Most of the time in Mumbai you will get to see it in a bushy form, and you will also see that salt crystal deposition, same as Avicennia or Tivar that we just now discussed, on these leaves also. It is also called as Mirchi mangrove. You can see in this first photo the fruits. Okay, they are form a pod-like structure. So that gives the appearance of a chili. So in Marathi, chili is called as mirchi. So locals also call it as mirchi mangrove. And this particular species, that is Aegisorus corniculatum, it has been said that from the areas like Sundarbans and all, the honey that is derived from this species is highly medicinal, and it is a very expensive yield. Now, this is another species. This is called as kirkiri. And another name for it, like the scientific name is Cereops tagal. Now, see, in the earlier species, that is in Avicennia marina, you saw here roots, the breathing roots. These are also called as pneumatophores. In this particular species, we usually get slightly buttressed stem, or the base gets thickened at the base and branching like you usually see from the base. Now, this is the third species. Here, the roots, they will form a knee-like appearance, just like your knees, like the roots will spread. They will come up again, they will again move down, again they will come above the ground, they will again go down. And this is how they will spread in all the directions. Though this particular species, it has knee roots. So wherever this species is present at the base, you will be able to see the knee roots of this species. Now, in this species, you can see these pod-like structures. These are not the pods, but these are the saplings of that plant. It is also called as propagule. So these saplings, okay, when they mature and when they fall down, they will develop into a new plant. And what is a sign of maturity? You can see there is a yellow band near the, this is a fruit, brown color fruit. Then there is this yellow band. So development of this yellow band suggests that it is a mature mangrove species. And then you can also see these dots. So these are the lenticels, the tiny opening that will help the roots to take in the oxygen from outside. Even plants need certain amount of oxygen for their growth. So flowers are scented. They comprises orange color dye in their bark, which is not exploited commercially anywhere. But yes, and they flower throughout the year. So you will not be able to see like, big colonies of this particular mangrove species, but you will get to see it in sparse, like there might be 3 4 Cereops tagal. At least I had never seen a big patch of Cereops tagal anywhere near the coastline of Maharashtra or Mumbai, but in Charkop areas and all, you get to see this particular species. Now, this is another species. This is called as chippy mangrove apple, and scientific name is Sonoratia alba. There are two species that we get to see in Mumbai. One is Sonoratia alba and another is Sonoratia opetala. I have tried to put photos of both the species. Now, the very, very special thing about this species is recently, that is in last year, our government has declared Sonoratia alba as state mangrove tree of Maharashtra. Now, Maharashtra is the only state in India who has given this species level protection or has taken this species level conservation measure to highlight the importance of mangroves among the generations and among all the people. So that is very, very important information about this particular tree, that this is a state mangrove tree of Maharashtra. The flower which you can see below, it is of Sonoratia alba, the state mangrove tree. And one which you can see above, the smaller flowers, okay, it has 1 2 3 4 sepals, okay, or sometimes 5. This is of Sonoratia opetala. Now, how to identify this particular tree in the field? See, Sonoratia alba will have the rounded leaves. You can see in last images. And opetala will have leaves that of eucalyptus type. You might have seen the eucalyptus tree, right? So eucalyptus have this elongated lanceolate kind of leaf. Similarly, Sonoratia opetala also have similar kind of leaf. Then the fruit, it looks like a apple, and it is called as a mangrove apple or star apple sometimes. And this fruit is edible. So there are certain references which also suggest from other countries that this fruit, like the inside of this fruit, the powder, it is highly nutritious and it is used as a nutritional supplement to fulfill the need of the nutrition in the human population. Now here you again get to see one interesting type of root formation. Now here again you can see the pneumatophores. These are not pencil-like. These are conical nematophores. You can see it is like a radish or a carrot, more like a carrot, okay, not radish. So it is broader at the base and it gets pointed at the apex. Okay, so this conical shape roots is the main character of this particular tree. Like from the roots you can identify the tree based on this shape. One more interesting thing about this root is they undergo ultrafiltration. So you will never see the salt crystal or salt deposition on the leaf of Soneraceae. The reason is this tree is able to take out salt at the root level itself. That is a reason, like, there are some areas in Raigad or in Dahanu or in Palghar where you get the stunted growth of Avicennia species, that is Tiber species. But if you see the chippy, it will grow very tall. The reason is it is able to take out the salt at the root level, and that is the reason plant can cope up. The only thing, like, you still don't get to see this species in more numbers in these areas. In other areas like Raigad, Ratnagiri, we do have certain patches which has huge number of these trees, but not in Mumbai. The main thing is seeds are very small. They have less viability, and that is the reason, like, even if one single fruit will have hundreds of seeds, like, only few species will able to make it into a big tree in future. Then flowers are good source of honey. There's one interesting information I got it from my Ratnagiri visit, where people were saying that when these flowers bloom, it has a cup like this below. You can see this flower below. It has a cup like structure below. So this cup like sepal, like, it actually has honey in it. So before sunrise, if they drink honey from it, like, it helps them, like, to get rid of cough, cold, fever, that kind of ailments. So I've never tried. I do want to experience that once. Now this is another magnificent or elegant kind of mangrove species that is seen along the coastline of Maharashtra, and also at some places in Mumbai, like Mud Island you can see, then you can see it near Navi Mumbai and some more areas. Common name is Kandar in Marathi. It is called as Rhizophora mucronata in English. Now this Rhizophora name itself has a meaning. Rhizo means roots, phora means leaves, the canopy. You can see the canopy is present on the roots, Rhizophora. Mucronata, because here in the below image where you can see the flowers, you can see there is a small tip, pointed tip above the leaf, that is called as mucronate. That feature is called as mucronate. So Rhizophora mucronata. Now these type of root structure, it is called as prop roots or stilt roots. Then this species, it also developed the propagules. Propagules is the sapling just now that we mentioned. See how the nature is. Nature knows that if, like, the seed fall by itself, then because of water, it may not be able to find a proper substratum. It may not be able to establish well in that area because of the saline water. It may face problem in germination. So that is how the species has evolved, forming these kind of sapling. So one tree will bear so many saplings. So one tree can generate a forest in another 100 years. That much capacity one tree of mangrove species can have. So all these propagules, they are dispersed through the tidal water. These propagules are also edible. I have never tasted them as such, but yeah, in some parts of the world, this propagules are used as vegetables. And these are all the, especially all mangrove species, they are very important in balancing the mangrove food chain. You can see these roots, like these roots, they provide a lot of place, like, to the tiny fish and tiny organisms to hide and breed in them. So that is how these type of species are very, very important for the ecosystem. This is another very, very interesting species called milky mangrove, also called as Exocaria agallocha. Commonly it is called as huri किंवा चिकाचे झाड. So why चिकाचे झाड? Because if we pluck any of the leaf, then it will have this milky latex. Then this is like the male tree is different, female tree is different. You can see the middle image over here. These are the male flowers. You can see this last image. These are the female flowers of this tree of the Exocaria agalloca. Now, in the south, there is this Tillai mangrove forest. So this Tillai mangrove forest, this tree is considered as extremely sacred. There is like this temple over there, in which there is a temple which is located inside this Exocaria trees, like, and people don't allow to cut these trees or do any harm to these trees, because it is believed that this tree is highly medicinal, and it is helpful in certain skin disorders and many other kind of ailments. And otherwise it is also called as blind man's eye tree. Now, why blind man's eye tree is because I mentioned just now about the milky latex. Now, if these latex it goes in the eye, so it has been said that it causes the permanent blindness in people. So usually, like, these trees are not prone to cutting. Even the local communities, they avoid cutting this tree. And if you see the root system of this tree, then it forms a plank, like very irregular pattern of, like, the roots will grow, they will grow a little bit down, then again they will grow, not a particular pattern. They have a plank type of root system, as you can see it in the below image, where you can see the roots of this Exocaria tree. And in Bhandup area, like, especially, like, I have seen very tall Exocaria trees. And otherwise also, one point um, place to see all the species is coastal and marine biodiversity in Airoli, where there is an arboretum where all different type of mangrove species are planted. Even the species that were existing naturally are also preserved. So if you happen to go there, you will get to see so many different type of species growing here. Okay, so this was about some of the commonly found mangrove species in Mumbai. There are many other mangrove species like Ran xylem, Nitsera racemosa, and various other species that are found in the mangroves of Mumbai. Now, let us concentrate little bit also on the associate species. Now, these mangrove species are specialized because they have different type of root system. They have leaves which can vomit the salt from the leaves. Then they have some kind of roots which can do filtration of salt at the root level. So there are so many characters that makes this mangrove unique. But along with this mangroves, there are some land friends that mangroves have. These are known as associate mangrove species, like, which grows along with mangroves, but they don't have any such characters that mangrove species have, but they have the capacity to grow in the mangrove habitat. So this is one species which is called as ghorchi bhaji, or sea purslane, or Sesuvium portulacastrum. So I had seen this in many areas where there are fishing ponds or something. So it usually grows on the bunds, or if you go to Dahanu Palghar area, so big flats, like, land parcels are covered with this particular species. This is usually a sediment binder. It can grow on the sandy habitat, it can grow on the muddy habitat, and usually it will help in binding the sediment tight. And once, like, the sediment becomes little bit stable, then further, like, the process of mangrove plantation occurs in the, like, natural regeneration occurs over there. So this type of species, and there are certain grass species also which I have not incorporated in this presentation, but they play a very, very important role in binding the sand. Leaves are edible. Most of these coastal communities, they make bhajis out of these leaves, like kanda bhaji, they make bhaji of these leaves. Then in Malvan, there is this Swamini ecotourism group, they make pickle out of these leaves. And it has been scientifically proven that this leaves, like, they can be used like a multivitamin, like so many vitamins it has it over here. But it is not recommended from the areas like Mumbai that people should eat this, because we don't know about the heavy metal pollution and where it is growing. But of course, if you visit any non polluted areas, and if the species is growing, you can definitely taste and see how the species is. Then it is a perennial herb, and it is a medicinal plant. It is used as medicine for various purposes. This is another species called kateri or sea holly. Scientific name is Acanthus ilicifolius. Why kateri? You can see the leaves in this photo. You can see the leaves are pointed. So whenever we go into the mangrove habitats, like one or two, like, those thorns, like they will prick your leg. So we usually called it as a vaccination, mangrove vaccination. So this kateri is like, it is usually observed that this species, once it starts coming over there, and if there is a habitat disturbances in that particular area, then this species will cover the entire area and it will not allow any other mangrove species to grow in that area. So usually it is found invasive in nature as such. So usually we try to see, like, that we can preserve this habitat. Sometimes if it is required for the survival of other species, then the species should be considered to be removed and the habitat can be restored with the natural mangrove growth. But definitely the presence of this species is not a very good sign. Yeah, 2 3 species, like you can see in a very good rich, like dense mangrove forest, you will see the growth of this acanthus, but it will be in limit. And I say this is highly medicinal. I was going through so many references which suggested so many importance, medicinal importance. And once, like, I happened to go in Dahanu area, where while interacting with the local communities, they mentioned that if there is a scorpion bite or something, then the root of this particular species, they give it to that person to eat it like raw, in that way. And they say like it cures the person 100%. So there are certain this thing, like, which locals are using. And but not much ethnobotanical information about the mangrove species is generated. Now, this is another variety, and this is the only climber that outgrows into the mangrove area. So, like in the monsoon, like, as you see, the monsoon starts in the month of August, September. Most of the mangrove areas, they will be fully covered with these creepers and all, and you'll get to see this whitish color flowers or sometimes greenish color pods of this same flowers. This is called as karanj whale. You might have seen the karanj tree. So similar kind of flowers it has, similar kind of fruit it has. So it is also called as a karanj male. Since this being to belonging to the leguminous family, it also makes adds to the nitrogen content of the sediment in that area. And one more thing, like, uh, in Panvel area, I had seen this. There was one pathway that was made in the mangrove area to cross the small creek. And this pathway, like, at both the sides, they had tied this creeper. There is trifoliata. And I was so surprised to know that this creeper is so strong that it could take my entire weight. So even though the stem of this particular creeper, like, it has so much strength in it, and I think it has a very good fiber in it. Then this is a very known name to everyone, miswak, also known as toothbrush tree, or we can call it as shrub. You can see it in this picture. It do not have any kind of shape. It grows in a very hayward manner, and the leaves are bright green, slightly succulent. And usually in summer season in fruits, you will get to see this white or some reddish color fruits. These fruits are edible, and it is seen, like, many a times, like when I was doing my research, I had seen many white cheek bulbuls and the small wobbler species feasting very happily on this species. They were not even bothered, like, people are walking from side. So later on, like, after searching some literature and talking to some of my seniors and my guide, I got to know that the fruits have slightly narcotic effect, and because of that, the birds, like, they get that dizziness, and that's the reason, like, they settle there for a time being. So this Salvadora was previously, it was used as a toothbrush. The stems was used as a datun. Even the extract from the leaves was used as an astringent. So this was all old, like ancient remedies that people used to do. Now let us see some importance. So these was about some of the mangrove species that are, so there's some of the commonly found mangrove species along the coastline of Mumbai. Now importance of Mumbai, like, you know, if we have to say that, so I like this painting very much. This is a painting not done by me, but this painting gives you the feel, like, you know, how you feel inside the mangrove forest. You can see the creek that is flowing, you can see the roots of the mangrove, you can see the canopy, you can also feel the coolness inside. The temperature has lowered over there. Okay, so all these things, like, you know, they not only they will attract us, but they attract myriads of biodiversity in them. So when we go into the mangrove areas, we saw various types of roots in the mangroves. Okay, we saw this mangrove. So what is the role of this mangroves in the ecosystem? You can see the leaf is falling from somewhere in this image. Okay, so when this leaf falls down, there are so many different type of organisms that keep on working very hard to conserve this ecosystem. So one such organism which has a very innate and deep connection with the mangroves is the crab. You can see the crabs, they will, like, you know, break all the leaves of the mangroves. They will form the detritus. Detritus is like the small particles which starts degrading, that is called as detritus. So the fish and other small organism which come during the time of the high tide, they find like, Ore Bapre, there is so much food material that is available. Plus, temperature is less. They have so much place to hide everywhere. They can play hide and seek over there. So all these things, like, you know, attract the fishes to this areas. They find this place very much suitable for their young ones, and that is the reason, like, mangroves are called as the breeding grounds for the fishes. So these big fishes, they come at the time of high tide, they lay the eggs. These legs, they are covered with the mucilage, and because of that, they can attach themselves to the roots of the mangroves. And when they attach themselves to the root of the mangroves, after some time they will hatch. They have immediate the food material that is available, the fungal spores, bacterial spores, the tiny planktons, the tiny organisms. So after spending their time in the mangrove forest, they again enter into the ocean or the sea. So that is how they help in maintaining all the neighboring ecosystems and providing food to the mangrove ecosystem and other related ecosystems. So this is again, see how, like, the big fish, they come into the mangroves, like, you know, the small fish, you can see the shrimps, crabs, there's a food material over here. So there is so much, like, you know, 3 tons of litterfall. This will change from area to area, but just to give you an idea, I thought I should put this. So much litterfall happens in the mangroves per hectare. Okay, and ecosystem produces, because of the food availability, because of the traveling of the fish to this areas for the breeding, there is around 1.08 tons of fish that is like, you know, that takes birth because of the mangroves. So roughly 60% of India's coastal marine fish species is dependent on the mangroves marine estuarine complex, and 60% is really a very very big percentage to be considered. And fish is a very very important food resource for human beings as well as it is important for other marine creatures. Then 1.86 tons of annual marine fish catch in India approximately gives rupees 68 billions, so much of income. So as far as our economical growth of the country is considered, in that aspect also, mangroves are very very important. So less the number of mangroves, less the number of all these resources. More the number of mangroves increase, there will be increase in the number of resources that we get from the mangroves. So this was about the food chain. Another very important thing that all over the world, globally, people are interested in mangroves is because of their capacity to store carbon. These mangroves have immense potential to store the carbon dioxide in them. They always have a thick canopy. They are always dense. So you can imagine how much carbon dioxide they are taking in. They are almost like, you know, 40 times more carbon dioxide they take in from the environment, and they store it in them. Okay, they will store it in the leaves, they will store it in the bark, they will store it into the roots, and they will store it into the sediments as well. But they are the important sinks but they are the important, I would say, like emitters also in future if the mangroves are broken. So like, whenever the mangroves are degraded, all the carbon that is stored by that mangrove in the mangrove tree, in the sediment, it will release out. Okay, it is because of the water, it is because of the waterlogged condition that carbon gets trapped inside that sediment and it forms the sink. So it is very, very important. Even though it is a fragmented patch of mangrove, a very small patch of mangrove, it should be protected, because one single tree is also playing an important role in conserving and in storing the carbon into it. Throughout the world, a lot of research is going on the carbon sequestration. India is also taking fast speed in understanding the carbon importance of the mangroves. And I think somewhere, like, this is going to be the future, even though mangroves occupy only 0.7% throughout the world, but the role which they are playing is very, very high and very, very important. What are the benefits? Like we were talking, we spoke about the food chain. Okay, we spoke about the food importance to the human beings. We spoke about the carbon sequestration, that is how it purifies the air we get to see from these particular phenomenon of the mangroves. Plus they protects the biodiversity. Mangroves harbors, like, lakhs and millions of organism in them. You go into the mangrove forest, you'll never be disappointed. On the sediment you will see some shells, you will see some slugs, you will see some different type of crabs, then you will see different type of trees, the flowers. There's so many things that you can see, that you can observe. It protects the biodiversity, and they are very, very important for the certain species, which especially the species who are highly dependent only and only on mangroves. Then they are barrier for the natural hazards like tsunamis and cyclone. Now in this cyclone Totke, it was seen that fishermen, they took their boats. You might have also seen in the media, in the TV, they had taken their boats inside the mangroves, because they know there will be less damage to the boats if boats are taken inside. Now for the Maharashtra, we don't get to see immediately, like, how like we get benefited from the mangroves, because still the mangrove carpet of Maharashtra is not that strong as like it is in the Sundarbans or the Andamans. Or see, because Maharashtra is, it is not a plain deltaic region as it is in the east coast. It is like Sahyadri areas, it has elevations and depressions. So the mangrove cover in Maharashtra is very, very different. So wherever there is a mangrove cover, we need to restore such areas, and we need to conserve such areas for the betterment of our future and for land protection as well. Now all these different type of roots, like the prop roots, the stilt roots, and the pneumatophores, they also prevents the soil erosion by holding the soil. There are certain, even mangrove associates, they help in holding the coastal erosion. So all these plants all together, they do all this magic. They purifies air and water, breeding ground for fishes. They're blessing to local communities. See, most of the local communities, they are dependent on the fishing. Fishing is their main income. So it is like, very, very important, like, for them also, that they should understand that these mangroves are there, so we have the fishes. We only see the product, as a humans, hardly like humans are able to see what is behind that product. So that is the need of the hour. And to the people on the land, today we are sitting here securely, it is also because of the mangroves. They're protecting the land on the borders, so they are actually the coastal warriors. And so these unique ecosystem, which is so, so important in so many aspects, is still undergoing so many threats. So from years together, okay, it is now like we understand the importance of mangroves, and mangroves in Maharashtra are getting absolute, like, I would say, very good protection considering any other place in India. And I would say it should be in the world. Like Maharashtra has been a pioneering state in the mangrove protection. So in the first photo here, you can see there is a shrimp farm. So this type of farming, like, it affects the ecosystem, because for construction of this shrimp ponds, like the entire mangroves from that area is removed. So when entire mangroves are removed, that entire biodiversity is like removed. It is like just destroyed and deleted. from that particular area. And later on also in this maintenance, like the bleaching is done and so many things, that water when it enters, so it affects the ecosystem in a bad way. Another very very important thing that we all needs to consider and understand is the waste, is the solid waste. See, from our houses every day garbage is going out. Okay, there are, I know there are very handful of people who must be segregating. After in last like 4 5 years, the concept of segregation of the waste, concept of recycling of the waste has emerged. But don't know, like how much it is widespread throughout the people. But all this waste eventually it is going to the dumping grounds. Okay, we have so much of population that it is very difficult for any authority to take care of the so much, like 900 metric tons of waste is produced daily. And who is like taking care? Even there also we have people who are appointed, right? So we don't have so many people, like to take care of the waste that goes out from our houses. So segregation of the waste is very very important. And because all this waste, it is coming again back during the high tide time, and it is choking the mangroves, it is choking the roots. So what happens, like once the roots gets choked, then the mangroves they start dying automatically because of suffocation. We today understand what the suffocation means. All, like most of the human beings, they are facing what the suffocation is because of this bad time. I just don't want to take that word also, because it is really very disturbing situation that we are facing today. Another thing, like you can see this another photo of satellite image, you can see the fumes smoke that is coming out, that is from the dumping ground. Whenever you're traveling from this LBS or this Eastern Express Highway from near the dumping ground, it smells very bad, especially in the monsoon days. Even if in the car like windows are closed, you will still be able to smell that stink from the dumping ground. Then another thing is encroachments. Yeah, also like in mangrove areas also encroachments are there. Like some people, like they build the houses, like they put it on the bamboos and they will make the houses tall and they will still make the huts. We had seen that personally at some areas in and around Mumbai. Then in certain areas, like people don't want salt water to come near their areas or something, they want protection, so then the bunds are built and then the water is blocked. See, when the water is blocked, those fishes who are traveling into the mangrove areas for breeding, everything is stopped. All the services are stopped. Then the oil spills. The oil spill is also a regular problem that mangrove face, because the entire organisms, the plants, everything gets covered with the oil. And the reclamation, the debris are dumped into the mangroves. So these are the challenges, okay, that we are facing in the conservation of the mangroves. But all our efforts are counting today, and we will discuss the role of mangrove conservation by the government of Maharashtra in further slides. So this is something like the conservation history, the legal protection that is being given to the mangroves of Maharashtra. See, I said that it is only 1 or 2 decades. The life or the game has changed for the mangroves. In 2005, mangroves were first detected as protected forest by the High Court. Okay, so when they were declared as protected forest, they got some protection. But further, like in 2006 floods that happened, and it usually happened because of the choking up of the drainage channels. Because see, in mangroves they have this mechanism of high tide and low tide. During high tide, water comes in. During low tide, it will take in all the water. But if the drains are choked, then there are the barriers in between. The low tide effect, like the pulling of the water did not happen because of all this choking of the drainages and all. So later on it was realized, and in 2013 remarkable achievement was achieved, in which like the mangroves were, the status of mangroves was elevated to reserve forest. And it is extremely important for the Maharashtra, and a win-win situation for Maharashtra's mangroves, that today even the mangroves, they are present on the private land, nobody can touch the mangroves. They have to take, if there are some kind of projects which are for the people, which are important for the people, like, that is going to solve the major problem for the public. Then in certain projects, the compensatory afforestation has to be undertaken. There are certain laws, there are certain measures that are taken. And then, like, after the Supreme Court or High Court agrees to it, later the permission is given. But so far, all the mangroves in and near Mumbai are protected. You can see, like, reserve forest, there are like two. Initially, like, all the mangrove areas, they are declared as reserve forest under Section 4. So in Section 4, when it is declared, it gets immediate protection. And later on, the inquiry is done. So whether that area belong to some people, whether that is really the mangrove area, and in that process, like, certain part is omitted if it does not suit into that mangrove area, and rest of the part is declared as the final reserve forest. That is done in Section 20. You might have read it into the newspaper, or if you go on our website also, all these details are available. So today, like, we have so many, like, you can see the numbers over here. We have so many hectares of land, like, more than 7,000 hectares of land is today converted or declared or notified as reserved forest, and that is being managed by the Forest Department, Mangrove Cell, Government of Maharashtra. So now, this was about the protection, okay, that mangroves were declared as protected forest, then reserve forest. Now we will talk about the establishments, okay, which are the bodies. Just now I mentioned about Mangrove Cell. Mangrove Cell was established in 2012. Like, this is today, it is now that we are completing 10 years of our conservation journey. So this was initiated for the conservation of mangroves in Maharashtra. In 2014, it was realized in areas like Mumbai where there is so much struggle for the land. Okay, so in such areas, the encroachment in mangroves needs to be removed. So Mumbai Mangrove Conservation Unit was formed, and today almost, like, 99% of encroachments is being removed from the Mumbai. And not only that, after the encroachments are removed, there is a security force that is placed at that area 24/7, so that no further encroachments will occur. In 2015, Mangrove Foundation, that is Mangrove and Marine Biodiversity Conservation of Maharashtra, autonomous body, was established by government to speed up all the activities that have been done by the Forest Department. So I'll just quickly run through. I think we are running out of time. So mangrove restoration. So till now, like, we have restored more than 1,500 hectares of degraded land. Restoration in mangroves is not easy. The mangrove nursery has to be made into the mangrove areas, in the high tide and low tide areas. The plants has to be traveled through the boats. On the head loads, they get it in with the bamboo, they dig it, and one plant is planted. So it is a very laborious process, and only the people from coastal communities, they can take care of this plantation programs. And 75 lakh mangrove species are being planted. So many encroachments are removed. 4.5 kilometer protection wall is built in such areas, so that no further encroachment will take place. Then there is this scheme by Mangrove Conservation and Livelihood Generation Scheme, in which crab farming, mussel farming, bivalve farming. See, because we cannot entertain the shrimp farming, and we cannot say people that you should not do fishing. Fishing is their fundamental right. So fishing has to be sustainable. So how it can be sustainable? So there are all these top institute like CIFA, CMFRI. All these institutes are involved. Along with Mangrove Foundation, Mangrove Cell training is given to the local people, and they do the sustainable aquacultural practices throughout the coastline of the Maharashtra. In Mumbai and Thane area also, you will get to see some of the projects. Because of the polluted water, so many areas we are unable to undertake certain aquacultural projects in and around near Mumbai. But in Palghar, Dahanu area, we will be able to see this type of projects. There are so many self-help groups like with whom we do all these projects. Then there is this ornamental fish rearing projects also, wherein the Maharashtra Forest Department, it has developed an hatchery. In this hatchery, the tiny babies are raised, like the breeding is done, and then this babies, like when they attain certain size, it is given to the local people, and then local people take care for the 2 months, and then they sell it, and they get a very good income from that. So they understand we are getting all this help from the government, we are getting all this fish and all these things, it is only because we are conserving the mangroves. So they have started realizing all these things. Then there is the ecotourism activities that are undertaken. There are so many sites for ecotourism wherein people are educated about the biodiversity of the mangroves, importance of the mangroves, why it is important, their local culture is highlighted, and people get connected with the mangrove ecosystem because of such activities. Then there is this compensation scheme where endangered species are released, and they get money if they cut the net and they release the turtles. And only because of this activity, the leatherback turtle, which was not sighted on the Maharashtra coast from last 40 years, now we have 2 records of the leatherback sea turtle. So all these things are really playing an important role in conservation. Then there are two marine sanctuaries, Thane Creek Flamingo Sanctuary and Malvan Marine Sanctuary. This is the Coastal and Marine Biodiversity Center. If you have not visited, do visit this center. You will get a very nice audio visual presentation in this areas, and this is the picture from the inside, and you will really love to see the way information is given in this areas. You can easily spend 1.5 hour to 2 hours in this area. Then there is a small movie that is shown so that you get the gist of what mangrove ecosystem is actually. And later on, then the people enjoy the boat ride. We get national and international participation for the flamingo boat ride, and it has been a very famous destination from Mumbaians in and around, and other people. Whenever they come to Mumbai, people make sure that they go for a flamingo boat ride, which starts from the month of November till the month of May. Then we also organize many cleanup drives, as like I mentioned, like all this waste they choke up the mangroves, and it is very very important. So many corporate schools, colleges, they come forward, and now individual NGOs and individual organizations are also coming forward and organizing their own cleanup drives. And we are trying to set up a common platform where we can help them financially with the logistics and all the important accessories that they require while they are doing this kind of noble activities for the mangrove conservation. Then there are certain awareness programs like shore walks, then the program for villagers. Then there is a marine game that is designed by us. Then the marine talks are designed, and marine mangrove trails are taken. So all these activities, if you want to participate in our activities, then you can join our social media handles. So now one last slide on, like how you can contribute, like so in mangrove conservation. Number one is, if you report any kind of cutting of mangroves, then you can dial on 1926, or you can write to konkanmangroves@gmail.com. We can reduce, reuse and recycle. These three principles are very very important. I'm sure, like today, even if like 50 people or like 10 people from us, they start considering the waste as a resource, and like try to reduce the waste, it is going to help mangroves in a very big way. And spread awareness whenever it is possible. Participate in all mangrove related awareness activities, plantation drives, and connect with us on the social media handles in our various activities and programs. I think I'm done with all